So welcome everybody to our weekly Rotary meeting. And I'm glad you guys are here. We have a beautiful day. And I give it right away to Deb to introduce our guest, Julie.
Yes. Okay. Well, thanks. Thank you. Thank you. I was really excited because I've been able to reach out into contacts I've made in the motorcycling community, and Julie is one of them. And it's great because Julie is a Austin-based writer and a Hoka Hey rider. So I asked her to come and talk to y'all about Hoka Hey and her adventures. And so I will just hand this over to Julie.
Ta-da.
Ta-da!
Okay. All right. So, okay. Well, writer and Hoka Hey rider. My name is Julie Nordskog, and I've ridden the Hoka Hey and finished it twice in 2018 and 2020, and I'm scheduled to ride again in 2022. And I will get to the details on that in a moment. I also am the women's editor, and I write a regular column on women and motorcycling for Ride Texas magazine. So yeah, those two go hand in hand pretty well, because I get to, well, I really like to write about other people's adventures, but you know, sometimes I write about mine. I'll share the PowerPoint and I
Go
can
for
start
it.
telling stories, because I have a lot of pictures and I know I'll need to flip through them quickly. This is my 2014 Harley Davidson Dyna Switchback, and I have this picture because it reminds me.
We cannot
Can you
see
see
it
it?
right now.
Nope, you got to turn on. Go ahead, you set up your screen share.
I thought I did. Okay, well, let's try that again. Share
All right.
screen.
Take your
Now
time.
now we're doing it. Okay, well,
Here we go.
there we go.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna go up. That's my switchback. So this was a post from early 2018, and I remember because I was so proud of myself, because Deb, I had ridden all the way from Austin to Bandera by myself.
Hey, big deal. It is.
By myself. And yeah, I was part of the committee planning a women's rally there, and put a pin in that, because that remained the farthest I had ridden by myself until I rode the Hoka Hey. So
and by the way, guys, we're going also to Bandera at this right after the convention. Sorry for my interruption, Julie.
oh, no
Go
worries.
ahead. Yeah.
So I met this woman, Judy Rose, and she had ridden every single one of the Hoka Hey routes since 2010. She was on a panel, and you know, that was that. And a few months later, she sends me a text message, or actually just a Facebook message, and says, hey, if I get you sponsored, do you want to ride the Hoka Hey? I said, maybe. It's a 10,000 mile ride with no GPS. This is the logo here. You were given printed directions. Every 2,500 miles, you do not know where you're going in advance. And you do not know how you're getting there. The starting point changes every year. The ending point changes every year. What you'll know is the names of the checkpoints, but you don't know in what order you're going to visit them. So what do? Highlight the route on a map, because you have to follow the route exactly to be considered a finisher. If you get off the route, you need to go back to where you got lost and start over again. So it's very helpful to have these paper maps and visualize the route. And another technique I had was to take dry erase marker and write those directions on the window, because they're turn by turn. So how you navigate, let me go back to those directions. You mess with you more than miles, which could be 54, 60, or 62 miles. So you're constantly saying, did I pass it? Is it up ahead of me? Should I go back? In less than a mile, well, that's pretty much an immediate turn, but in less than 15 miles, sometimes it's 8 miles, sometimes it's 14.5. So you're always questioning yourself and whether or not the turn's ahead or behind you, you know, or if you missed it. And when you miss it, it's a bummer, because you lose all the time going back to where you got lost and then starting over again. So these directions are really helpful. Why? Because you make a turn, you hit your tripometer, you're using your trip button every time and resetting the mileage in 15 miles and 20 miles and 25 miles, turn, reset it. But here you also have the data. So I would have a little mark next to each of these, and I would smudge each one as I would make that turn, right? So if I got lost, I'd have all the data and I could backtrack, okay, to here and start over and go on the ride. And I had that information in front of me. Yeah, it takes some time to do that, but it takes more time to be lost, right? They know if you got off the route and you didn't follow the route exactly, they sure do, because you have commercial trackers on your bike. US Fleet Tracking has a commercial tracker on the bike. These are posted live during the ride on Facebook, so anybody can see where we are, and we have our names there. You know, it's kind of fun. You can follow along with the ride and see if somebody's stopped or far ahead or in the very back, like I was on this ride. You also have to sleep outside next to your motorcycle the entire time. So this is my Hoka Hey hotel. You just find a safe place to stay and you crash for a few hours. And I don't bother with the tent. Most people don't bother with the tent because you don't want to take the time to set it up and break it down and pack it up and do all that stuff, and it takes up too much room. So that's a rain fly. You get caught in all kinds of situations because you're going all around the country, all kinds of weather, all kinds of riding conditions. This was hail in South Dakota in July. I'm from Texas. We don't have hail here. So I, took refuge under that. It was a little camping site. And also you end up in places you might not have made the time to go see, right? So that's kind of fun because you're riding along and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm in Yosemite. This was Nevada or Utah. I can't remember. I think Nevada, Red Rock. And I wish I had taken more pictures. Everyone does. But you're always feeling like you got to make the miles and you want to fish as soon as you can. And so you just don't ever take as many pictures as you'd like. That's me on the last day. So one question that people always ask is, how long does it take you to ride 10,000 miles? So the answer is anywhere from 10 to 21 days. You're not allowed to cross the finish line sooner than 10 days because they don't want people, riding past their limits and hurting themselves. And they do. They get exhausted and fall asleep riding, it has happened. In this particular ride in 2018, since I had never ridden that far by myself, and I certainly had never navigated a 10,000 mile trip with no GPS, and I never ridden that far ever. It did take me 21 days. So I and this one other guy, we were the last ones to cross the line, and that's the afternoon before we crossed the line that day. You're looking pretty ragged by the end of it, and definitely you're not fit for human consumption. So if you want to stay far away from people when you go in the gas station store and things like that, this is the route from 2018. We started in Medicine Park, Oklahoma, and headed south through Texas, across towards Florida, and then up and over to Spokane, Washington. And this is a great example of how they mess with you, because in Spokane, we went a few blocks from the actual dealership, the checkpoint. And then they sent us off in that loop. It was 200-mile loop before we could stop. So if you don't do that, then you didn't adhere to the route, right? So you're not a finisher. And you're tired. So that's another reason, writing the directions on the map and writing them on the windshield, all those things matter, because day after day, the more tired you get, the more likely you are to miss turns, the more likely you are to get lost and lose a lot of time, and make mistakes. So there is no prize for riding the Hoka Hey. There is a patch. And this is a picture because we were making fun of our very shiny patches right after we'd gotten, gotten the patches and we were finishers of the ride. Now this guy, I'm standing next to Chris Hopper. And the reason I bring that up is because he and some other people are doing rides right now that make the Hoka Hey look easy. And, we all look bad. So he just finished riding 100,000 miles in 100 days on his bike. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like something easy to do now, right? Oh, the Hoka Hey, who cares? They did have prizes in the very beginning of Hoka Hey, by the way, and they realized that was a bad idea. People were cheating, people were endangering themselves, they were speeding, they were going without sleep and all these things. And so they realized that wasn't a good thing to do. So now you get a patch, and the first 20 might get, some prize. Like they got these really big, like Dallas Cowboy belt buckles last year, that kind of thing. But I wanted to also bring up that part of the Hokahay is charitable. It does have a charitable mandate. The organization itself usually donates money to a group that's associated with the Lakota Sioux, and this year it's the Pine Ridge Chamber of Commerce. But each rider is encouraged to choose their own charity and fundraise for that charity, using this ride as a platform. So the first time I did it, it was 10,000 miles. So I figured, okay, I'll raise enough money for 10,000 meals. And it seemed impossible at the time, but I somehow managed to put it all together and met that deadline the day before I had to go to the starting point. Last year in 2020, I raised 20,000 miles, 2 years ago, I guess. And the entire group of Hokahay riders raised over $500,000. So I thought, as Rotarians, you might find that interesting. So on the second ride, I had a bigger, better, badder bike. I got a Road Glide. This is my Road Glide on the US border. In the back, you can see that's the border wall, and there's a little break right in the center. So it's just wall and then no wall and then wall. And I really upped my game because I realized I didn't want to finish in 21 days. Again, it's actually harder to finish in 21 and be out on the road that long than it is to finish sooner. And I needed things just for my safety. So I have, the big auxiliary lights you see there, upgraded suspension, the uber big Clockworks shield, so I could A, not be tired, and B, ride all over it. And, a modular helmet, all those things. That's me and now I'm in some real riding gear, right? My mod, and I have my vest on and all that. East Coast, never been there. I just randomly took a shot off the bike, and I've never been in that part of the country, so it was cool to see Valley of the Monuments. So yeah, when you're tired, how you're not supposed to look at where you don't want to go. I thought that it was really interesting how there was just this drop off around the corner. This was on the Snake in North Carolina. So yeah, my bike went there. Minor accidents happen, and stupid things like dropping your bike when you hit a bump going into the gas station, stuff like that. It happens to everyone, not just me, but everyone. I just actually, that's a pretty small dip, and it is a dip actually. I was in a gully, you can't tell there. I rode the bike out. Someone stopped and I had him push from behind, and I just rode the bike out. But another girl ran off the road around this time. She broke her wrist. I mean, things happen. People drop out. Probably a quarter of the people will end up dropping out before rides end. It's limited to about 100 people each time. You have to apply to be able to do it, and it's every other year. So that's me at this Hokahay finish, and I finished in 14 days. Yay! So I legitimized myself, and I had my friends from the ride, the previous time, who made fun of me, messaging me and saying what a good job I did. So I felt better. And this time around, my goal is just to have an end of the road party, and it's like on the 13th or the 14th day. I was one day late here, so my goal is just to make it to the end of the road party, with the big boys, and then I'm good. And that was the route we rode in 2020, and that route started in Florida, and then we headed across west and then up towards Utah and along the northern border there. We hit the lakes, and I saw Rhode Island. I mean, that's pretty far and different for me. So I enjoyed it a lot. I wish I had more pictures, but again, maybe next time. I'm going to get a Senna with a cam in it, so I can maybe record more of that ride and share more of it on social media. I mean, so I am a sponsored rider, and because I needed a lot of things to be able to ride this ride. I realized, I studied all the problems and what I needed to fix it. And I built a social media presence, and I, approached some companies about what I needed. And yeah, they want to see, updates from the road, and they want to see their lights, at night, and some forest in the middle of nowhere. And Ride Texas wants me to send little trip reports, of course. So I'm hoping to do a better job of that this time around. Oh, so this is the moral of Hoka Hey. Unless you puke, faint, or die, keep going. It's all about finishing. Ride your ride, do the best you can, but more than anything, I mean, yes, you're doing technical riding. Yes, you're being challenged in terms of navigation, but it's endurance and perseverance and so many personal struggles and lessons you go through on this whole ride that have nothing to do with the motorcycle. So I wanted to prove to myself that first time around that I would do it, that I could do it, and I wouldn't quit. And so I was proud of myself for getting there, especially since I had only ridden as far as Bandera alone. And as a result of that, I was introduced to Ride Texas. They wanted to write about me as a woman rider, and I'm only showing you this because that's, this is the persona I have built to, in my small way, empower women riders, women that ride, and, get them excited about challenging their limits, even if that's just like, going on an overnight somewhere, or, a solo ride down the street. It doesn't matter to me, but I try to put that out there. And so I became a writer as well for Ride Texas. And I don't know if you are all from Texas or not, are you? You are. So I have a regular column, and that's been a lot of fun. This past time it'll be mailing on the 7th. I was able to speak with Wendy Crockett, who is the only woman to have won the Iron Butt Rally, which is 11,000 miles in 11 days. And prior to that, I got to write about a lot of fantastic women that are working in the industry. So I'm enjoying that role very much. I meet those women through my writing, and then I get to write about them. So I don't forget, this is what the editor always tells me to say. This is the blurb. It's the definitive guide on what to do and where to go on a motorcycle in Texas since 1998. There you go. We have maps in there, which is why I always love the magazine. Okay, so now am I back? I stopped sharing?
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't know if you guys have any questions, or everyone's so quiet.
We gave
Or
you
maybe you're
all
on
the
mute.
We're muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
unmute, you can unmute yourselves. Oh, and okay, so one of the things I want to step in and say is, actually, we have at least 2 future Hoka Hey riders here with us today, because I see Carla Jean and I see Kim Walling. And
I don't see.
So
I knew Carla was going to join. Thanks, Kim.
and
I don't see them though. I just see this top bar of people.
oh no, yeah, if you
I
change
see
your
the.
view,
Oh, she says hello.
yeah, and so yeah, Kim's gonna remain silent. Kim, I've ridden with Kim, for the last couple of years, so I'm really excited to see her ride Hoka Hey. And you and Carla, I don't know, this will be a fun year to watch Hoka Hey. One of the things that's really exciting to me is that women are starting to take on the challenge, and that is amazing.
So that's a question I asked just in preparation for this little talk here, because when I wrote it the first time, I think maybe 12 had signed up, but 18 actually showed up and started. This year, I asked Junie, the woman that I originally met, she's on the board, how many women are signed up for the ride, and she told me that 20 women are signed up for this ride.
Wow.
So, very exciting. And that's thanks to, I think, social media, but also just to the fact that our sector of motorcycling is growing so quickly.
And then what's really cool, actually, I'm super proud being from Houston. I've known Kim since she started riding, and I've been watching her just tear it up. I'm so proud of you, Kim. You know that. And then I know we have Julie Surrey, who's another local woman who I've ridden with over the years. She's taken her first year. So, I mean, for me personally, running a large, Houston-based group, I am super excited to see these things going on. And you know, let's talk a little bit about Hoka Hey itself. It is a fundraising effort. So, you know, they're going out there. I think it's something that we as Rotarians can embrace. You know, they're trying to make a difference the same way. And it's a big personal challenge. And which reminds me, I would love to get Chris to come and talk, because what he's done as a mile monster and all that, oh my goodness,
Mhm.
it's really crazy. And hopefully, you know, I think it just takes your message that, you know, into venues like this, it takes your message and we spread it, and, you know, more people get to learn about what's going on out there, and how, at least for us as women, how the environment is changing. And I'm trying to remember where I was reading, but there are new women's oriented rallies popping up. There's all sorts of stuff that's popping up now that's really exciting to us. So we're gonna, you know, and I'm trying to get speakers to come and talk to us here. So it's it's very cool. It's very, very cool. Do you guys have any questions? I mean, this is the time, especially with, you know, this is Hoka Hey is really neat. It's a real honor. That's how I view it.
You, how many riders are there total allowed?
Around 100, but they say around 100, but in point of fact, maybe 120 will line up, or 115. So I don't know the exact number that's going to be on the line this year. But they have tried to limit it to around 100 riders, and they do, you know, interview everyone just for their rider resume and experience. You can't just, you know, say, I want to do it. That you have to apply.
So everybody rides, starts at the same time?
Yes.
Ah,
But
Do any of the-
so
do
it's
it-
not a group ride. I guess I should explain that. One of my favorite little sayings is, we're all in this alone together. Not a group ride. You ride your ride. Maybe you're riding with a partner. Maybe you meet up with a group and then split off from them. Maybe you just decide you're going to ride alone the whole time. But even when you decide you're going to, you know, see a friend or be with a group, you end up riding alone some of the time. Just like I unexpectedly ended up riding half of that the route by myself in the first Hoka Hey, for just different reasons I couldn't have predicted.
So and then you find your own hotel, motel, whatever for the overnights?
Nope, you sleep on the ground next to your bike. There is no hotel or motel allowed.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
wow.
I can tell you, following Hoka Hey has been a lot of fun, especially with the social media component nowadays, because the pictures of where these people, you know, they pitch tents, you name it, it's a parking lot. It's a
Yeah.
it's a table, you know, they found a table somewhere where they could literally crawl up on and sleep for
Yeah.
a couple hours. It's some wild stuff.
I like volunteer fire departments. They always have a lot of land, you know, and you know, like just grass, nice. And you know, I figure, you know, firemen, sometimes they're not there at all, but you know, it just seems like a safe place to crash for a few hours.
And you, when you pick your place, I mean, you're doing this when your mind and your body says, I've got to crash for a couple hours. There's no pre-planned.
Not at all, because you have no idea where you're going to be at the end of the day. You have no idea where you're going to be when you're tired. I mean, and even though, let's say, if you know, maybe your goal is to ride 750 miles or 800 miles in a day, but the fact of the matter is, you don't know if those are slow miles ahead of you. You know, there might be a bunch of twisties, there might be a lot of technical riding, it might be a lot slower, or maybe the weather's bad, or if you're lucky, it's a, you know, some kind of they're all back roads. I mean, they try to keep to secondary and tertiary roads, but you know, you can be on like some remote highway in the desert, and then at that point you just, you know, you make as many miles as you can, but you never know exactly where you're gonna be. So you just kind of look for I mean, the things most women will say, well, you know, aren't you worried about your safety, and isn't it kind of dangerous? And you know, for the most part, people just want to help. You know, they're just nice. So, you know, if you need to crash somewhere like the volunteer fire department, let's say, if they're around, or you know, even to one side of like a gas station, because that seems like, you know, not, you know, fairly inhabited, you can say, hey, is it okay if I crash here? And they'll keep an eye out for you. I only got yelled at once. I got yelled at one time by a guy who wasn't that nice because I had stopped, where he didn't want me to stop. I hadn't even stopped to sleep. I was just in this damn driveway, but
So
Yeah.
Julie, what do you do for maintenance? Because if 10,000 miles is about the edge of a set of tires, depending on what you're running. So
I'm running Michelin Commander 3s. So you want to have a full workup on your bike, oil change and safety check and all the whole tune up and everything. And you want to start on a brand new set of tires. A lot of people will get 2 sets of tires. And so when they're done, they put another set of tires on that bike. So the first time around, I did have 2 sets of tires. I had a lot of cupping on the tire at the end of the ride. I was still okay. I mean, my tires weren't bald, but I did have a lot of cupping on the tire. So it was good to have that second tire. The second time around, it's a better bike. I ride better than I did. Yeah, well, 10,000 miles would do something for you in terms of skill. But I had those Commander 3s. I didn't need new tires right away. It was crazy. I posted the tires. I'm like, oh my God, these look almost new, and no one could believe it. So I had those on still for quite some time before I changed out my tires. But it's good to plan for the 2 sets, and then have also arrange for the dealership to thanks, James. That's the tune the bike up completely at the end too, and do a safety check, just halfway through at 5,000 miles, the checkpoints are dealerships. So you would, ideally, call ahead when you're, I don't know, a couple hours out from them and say, hey, I'm going to need an oil change, and they'll, or a spark plug or whatever you might need, if in advance you're hitting 50K and you need that spark plug, just to make sure that they have it on hand. So yeah, it's just the one oil change halfway through. And then you hope nothing bad happens, right? So when you budget for this ride, it's about now it's more, maybe a $5,500 budget, because so you figure what's the average cost of premium gas in the nation? How many gallons of gas am I going to need for 10,000 miles? And hopefully not all that many bonus miles, but you can count on some of those. And, the entry fee for the ride itself, money for maintenance and any incidentals, the tires, you try to get sponsors to help you with some of these things, but it works out to around $5,500. So you have that cushion, right? So for me, like if I have like $750 set aside, I'm just praying nothing bad happens. I bought the extended warranty on the bike, by the way, but then if I don't spend it, that just goes towards my charity, which is Feeding America. So I do Feeding America, and I focus on providing the number of meals we provide, because it's so cool that you can do something so easily. You give $1 and you provide 10 meals with it. That's because they're just an incredibly efficient nonprofit, and their competitive advantages, housing and warehousing and distribution. So $1 is 10 meals. So if I want to raise like 40,000 meals, that's not impossible to do, right? So I did 10,000 that first time and 20,000 the second time, and this time we'll see how far I get.
It's always good to make something with a motorcycle. I started here when I came to Texas, and when I came to America, that's 10 years now in August. And then I wanted to do something, and then I started with a polio ride. And now we just did last September, we did the 5th one, and we raised $16,000 the last time. So I think it's always good to use the bike to get messages out. And we have a big project here in Houston. We try to support, there is one Rotary Club from the district, 5890. It's a university area club, and they started a firefighter home. So when because we talked about the firefighters and the firefighter stations, when that one of 3 firefighters get cancer, and nobody really is helping them, and we are the Cancer Competence Centrum in Houston. And so what we try to do with this money to built a firefighter home. So in the moment they have to go to the treatment to Houston, that they stay and they don't have to pay any rent, that they can be with the family, be close to, you know, where they have the appointments in the city, in the medical center, you know. So this is what we try to do. This is one of my biggest heart projects, and we want to do more for that, because I think it's, when you think about they fighting for us, and finally when they get cancer they're staying alone, you know. And I was on a big gala one time, and when they talked about that project, and I was so touched. So that was why when we started, or when I started to get attention of that. So it's pretty amazing what you can do with a motorcycle and how you can mobilize people. And I was so surprised when I came to the US that I said, where are all the women on the bikes? I was shocked that it was not that much like I know from Europe, you know. And so I'm very surprised when I see women like you, or like when I met Deb. So I met Deb. So this is why I could, you know, get her in this organization, because I think it should be much more women riding for this, for themselves, and, you know, and do something. And the most of them not only riding, they really do something. Hey Kay, nice to see you again. So she's in the car. So, but I give it back to the group.
Well, that's one of the things that I think is so great about the Hoka Hey, encouraging the riders to all choose their own charities. Some will pool resources and work together. So Deb, Kimberly is also working with Mile Monsters. But Carla Jean, for example, is raising funds for BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse, and I'm doing Feeding America. So although we may be 100, 120 riders, you know, the good that we're able to do is, you know, amplified, you know, or exponentially, really, because we're reaching out to so many different causes that are, you know, close to home for us. And that's one of the things that make us so effective in what we do. Some people are just incredible fundraisers, you know, they are able to raise a whole lot of money, but rather than, you know, pick one cause and have everybody raise for that one cause, you know, people are raised for the causes that they're most passionate about. And the event itself raises funds for the, in this case, it's the Pine Ridge Chamber of Commerce.
Julie, you said
Yes.
that registration for 2024 will open
Yes.
up. Is 2022 already full?
Oh yeah, it is. It's registration's been closed for some time. So around in February, late February of last year, they opened registration. And returning riders get priority. So as many returning riders, you know, apply, and they do try to hold spaces also for new riders. Yeah, that day, the day of registration, it was February, whatever, you know, almost exactly a year ago, we were online, you know, boom, registering to sign up. So a year in advance. Hi.
When does it start this
Michelle?
year?
What's that?
When does it start this year?
It's June 26th. It's starting from Rapid City, South Dakota. And it
So you
will
can
end-
go right after the convention. You can go over to South Dakota and can start. I'm only kidding. Yeah,
So I
very
see my
nice.
friend Michelle online. I think she's muted though.
Not really. I just don't
Oh.
talk much.
Not yet, but you are more welcome to say something.
Um,
My cat's wanting attention.
Kimberly, are you still there? I don't know if
Yes.
she's still there.
Yes, she is.
But
Oh,
she's-
well, so
okay,
what
now
are
she's-
some of the, Kimberly is an excellent long distance rider in her own right, but I'm wondering, what are some of the challenges, Kimberly, that you are expecting this year, or you know, the adventure? What is it that you kind of see ahead of you? I'm just curious to know.
Here she is.
I
Hi,
would
Kimberly.
say that, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say the challenges for me is the no GPS, because that's just, I mean, I don't get in the car without the GPS on to get out of a neighborhood. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's the trickiest, following the line to line instructions, directions.
Mhm.
And doing it at night, like seeing
Yeah.
street signs and stuff like that at
Yeah.
night. And then just the other thing that is sleeping by your bike for how many ever days, and
Mhm.
finding, it can be cold, it can be hot. You're going to get all weather. So
Yep.
just being prepared as much as possible, but just hunkering down and doing what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And put your
It's
head
the
down. Go.
unknown for me. Everything's the unknown,
How
Yeah.
many miles you go at a day? You want to, you're, I think when you're planning, you're looking how many hours or how many miles I want to go on one day to get the goal in, So it's Pima down. What do you think? How many miles in average you going every day?
Are you asking me?
Everybody.
Um,
From you guys who made
So,
that.
so here's the thing, you'll have a goal, right? Let's just say, right?
Mhm.
Say, Kimberly, say you want to do 850 a day. That's fair and reasonable, right? They'll get us there for the party.
Hopefully.
Okay, so yeah, we'll be there for the party. But here's the thing is you got to keep in mind that you might really just kick butt for the first few days, which like I did last time, because it was a lot of just, it was funny because we rode to Florida to start and then it was straight shot right back to Texas. You remember that? I was like, oh, what? I was just here. So packing for every eventuality is a challenge because, weight and space. But B, let's say you're planning and you want to ride 850 miles a day. Well, let's say the first day you do 1,000 and the second day you do 1,000. You get tired, then you're doing 800 and then you're doing 700. So you got to keep that in mind that as you get tired, so maybe a daily average is more a smart way to think about it. If you can make extra miles in a day, awesome, but yeah, that what you're going to ride every day will start to go down some. So you do have to build endurance, and you do have to, try to be prepared for every eventuality, of course. And you know what though, you got to be a little bit realistic. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not Hop, so I'm not going to do 1,500 miles a day because I just know that that's not within my
Well, and
capacity.
he's
Yes.
also
I
blowing
can't do
down
that
the
yet.
freeway.
But I don't know if I will ever, because it's not necessarily my ride, right? I want to ride the best ride that I can do.
Mhm.
And so I think if I tried to live up to Hopper standards, or I don't think it would be smart, because I'd be disappointed. It's a really bad idea to compare yourself to others and just compete against yourself.
It would be impossible on the back roads.
Yeah.
We can't get up that much speed on the back roads.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So my longest one was 840 miles in one day from Atlanta back to Houston or Friendswood, and my butt was hurting like hell all the time, This is what I just thought about it. If I have to do 10,000 miles and that every day, and my bones still when I go on the seat, I stay up during the ride many times, but it's still, when you go 10,000 miles over 21 days,
Your
every
butt goes
day,
numb. It goes numb.
I think that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you
It
go
does.
over a certain point, it will work out, right?
Yeah, and Advil. You do everything you can about the ergonomics of the ride. I'm probably not gonna, and you have to prioritize. So for me, those auxiliary lights are more important than having a fancy seat, like a $850 seat. I'd rather have my lights set up, and I have like a cheapo gel pad on my seat, but I do okay with that, but it's how you sit in the seat and how long you sit in the seat, and also the buffeting from the wind and the extreme weather patterns and all that.
Do you do any exercising specially to build up for it?
It's probably smart to do it, because when I was talking with Wendy Crockett, and I was listening to other podcasts she'd done, she said that was probably one of the best things that she had done, that she was hiking a lot every day. And so she was in really good shape. And that helped her gauge when she was truly fatigued or not, which I thought was pretty smart. So that did help her a lot. I was a rower, like the crew rowing. And so before that 2020 ride, and that kind of training and that kind of learning about like posture and how to hold your body was super helpful, because that's a hard seat, you know, in that boat, and you're swinging in that hard seat, and you're in the seat for a long time, and you learn like how to hold your, you know, keep your back straight. You actually engage your abdomen. Yeah, so you tighten your abs. And so I don't really have back problems on the bike. It's smart to do that. But do I like stop and do yoga when I'm on the ride? No. Should I? Yeah, but I, you know, don't.
But what I learned,
you're doing crunches.
what I learned too is if you have a good condition, you have a good concentration as well. So it's always good to be prepared on a ride like that. If you are not that young than you guys, you know, so if you're getting a little bit older, you have to do more. That's a fact.
I wanted to kind of just show y'all, this isn't a Hoka Hey, but it's what I've been practicing with. I don't know if you can see really good, but it's kind of like how the Hoka Hey directions are. And so
Is that the Mad
they're
Map?
called Mad Maps. Yeah. And so Kimberly, I know I've talked to you about that before. getting the Mad Maps of Texas and start practicing.
And I actually have the directions that they handed out at the Seguin meetup. So
okay.
I actually plan to go back to Seguin and try to ride the ride.
Yeah, because
the directions
about-
remind me of what they use in the cannonball, the motorcycle cannonball, which they have this kind of
like that.
Yeah, that funky. Yeah, Michelle. I ran into Michelle when I was in Nacogdoches. The way they're written. I mean, so you think old. You know, it's like old school GPS. It literally was this roll of paper that fit into this machine, and you would manually kind of turn it, and it was really. It's really wild to think about, because you know all the technology in the universe. Yeah, toss that out the window, and now you're riding a bike that's 100 years old. I mean, you name it. It's super. I'm very interested in the cannonball, if you hadn't figured out, and that it just, you know, it's like going back in time. And those are bikes where it's like, yeah, you're fat. If you're lucky, you're going 65. And some of the guys were telling some pretty funny stories about, 65 is about as fast as I'm going to go on this. And interesting
Kimberly,
stuff.
one of the best things you can do is practice navigating without that GPS.
Right.
You're like getting used to what the tricks are, and like where to look for the signs, and how, you know, they're different in different states. And like here, if I get off on the wrong exit, it's only a mile to the next one. But like in other places, it's like a freaking 5 mile, and then you're so mad, right? Because you have to go all the way down and come back. Yeah.
Yeah. When I get even in the car now, I'll try to like look for the sign, and because sometimes, you know, the freeway sign, you might turn after it, but you might turn before it, you know, just depending on different states or cities that you're in. So I'm trying to like look, you know, because, you know, I drive by GPS and I'm oblivious to everything else because I just do what it tells me to do.
Well, like in Texas, the closest exit is at the top of the sign, and like some other places, the closest exit is at the bottom of the sign. What am I supposed to do with that? You know?
Or it turns out the road you're looking for has 2 different names.
Yes.
That's always another fun one.
It's one road turns into another road, turns back into another road.
Yeah, that happened to me up in Minnesota, and it was like I literally, you know, 100 miles out of my way, and it was like, I don't think this is where I'm supposed to be. No, not even close. So yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah, I've been trying to pay attention to street signs more now than I ever have.
Yeah.
I think
remembering to hit that odometer every time you make a turn is just muscle memory. The more you do it, the more you'll remember to hit it.
You know, and things. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Carla, what are you riding? Because of course I know what Julie's riding, and I know what Kim is riding. What are you riding?
Well, my ride is a 2020 street glide. I got a street glide, not a road glide. But so Julie was saying, yeah, it costs like $5,500 to start this Hoka
About that.
Kimberly, we throwing a new bike because
And
what I
that's
had
not even
before was
counting the
just-
fancy gear.
Yeah.
You know, that's not
well,
counting your riding gear and your helmet and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
let's
that's
just
another
go
thing
about
to do.
26,000 when you buy a new bike to ride the Hoka.
Right.
Yeah.
But like riding gear, you know, you want the best that you can get, and that stuff's not cheap. And you don't want to have to stop and put on a rain suit when it starts raining, so you get Gore-Tex,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you learn these things. The right gloves. It's just it's on and on and on.
And you really don't want to buy the. You really don't want to buy
bigger.
it and use it for the first time on this ride. No, you want to have it
No.
already. You want to break it in. Anything you're going to put on your bike, put it on your bike now. Any new helmet, any new gloves, any new pants, jacket, whatever. Figure out all those problem wrinkles now. Like, don't just have a new helmet the day of the ride. And some people who don't like to ride with helmets, they end up doing that. They brought a helmet and they've never worn it before, and then it doesn't fit their head right. You know,
Yeah,
those
that's
kind of
bad.
nightmares, right? It gives them a headache or. But the variables, you know, rather the probability increases a great deal when you're on the road for that many miles, that many days in a row. So you definitely want to, you know, have all the best gear, like for your needs.
Yeah, this is true, and you learn.
Actually, you know, that brings up a good question, because I know you're riding with a Simpson helmet, Julie.
I love it.
And you
So
talk
does
about
Carla.
that. Yeah, oh, cool. But talk about that, because that's all new. That's like really new to me, and I want to go out there at some point. Check
So
it out.
Simpson has a store in New Braunfels, and that's how I found out about them. They were at the Chopper Show out there at New Braunfels, and yeah, Simpson makes, you know, stock car racing safety gear. They have for like, I don't know, the 60s, and I was like, wow, you're making helmets? That's cool. I want one. But I learned that the full face helmet, that wasn't a modular. I rode a full face in 2018. That is a bad idea, because you you can't drink anything, you know, without, you can pour it right down your face. You're hot. You can't eat. Sometimes you need to be able to, you know, eat a Cliff Bar or drink something on the bike, and you're just in helmet jail with the full face. So the modular is definitely the way to go for distance riding. And the Simpsons weigh less than 4 pounds. And I have a bad neck. I hurt my neck a long time ago. Not motorcycle related, but the buffeting from the wind, right?
Yeah.
And the weight of the helmet, all those things will just really make your neck hurt, and also make your fingers numb, which is real fun when you like pinch fingers. So I was looking for something real light. And the first one I got was the carbon fiber Simpson. And I absolutely love it. Also, it has this weird like ripple pattern on the front, and I just don't feel like my head like blows around. And I couldn't even have known that without riding at least 1,000 miles in it. So this next one I got, I didn't, you know, get the carbon fiber because there's only like a couple 100 grams difference, and it's like it's a lot cheaper to get the one that's not carbon fiber, you know. But they're really reasonably priced compared to, you know, they're the quality of an Arai. But you know, they're
Not the
around
price
$500
tag.
instead of $900.
Yeah.
So, and they're just they do kind of have a cult following. But I've had a lot of helmets because I would always buy the cheap helmet and then I'd end up hating it and get another cheap helmet. This is definitely the best helmet I've ever had.
You know, that's a thing in itself. We could probably have an entire session just talking about helmets.
Oh,
And-
no joke.
Yeah.
The other question I have, how you do, you know, how you make that with drinking? Do you have camelbacks on the back?
I hate camelbacks. I feel like I'm being attacked by a squid. Yeah. So I don't have the setup yet, but Carla Jean got her set up where I don't know if you have one yet, Kimberly, where they put like a jug on the passenger peg, and then they have like just a tube leading, like a camelback, but just the tube leading out from that. So it's their hydration system, and then just, you know, have a piece of Velcro on the tape so they can just get their tube, you know. But I have, you know, water bottles that I keep, you know, in a little cup holder, and then I have another saddlebag that holds a water bottle. I would like to set up that jug system though, because especially when it's hot, and it will be, you know, for some days, you keep running into the convenience store, right, to get more water or to get Gatorade. And, you know, after a while, you spend a lot of time messing around. You're wasting a lot of time at the gas station, you know, because then you're like, I gotta go in there and then I gotta stand in line, or then maybe I'm gonna just get something to eat too, or I'm gonna go to the restroom, and before you know it, you've been there 15 minutes. So I do want to set up a jug for the next time around, just to keep me from having to run inside and replenish my water supply.
Okay.
Yeah, I got that idea from the Hoka Hey rider riot at the taco run. I just was walking around at everybody's bike and looking at everybody's bike, seeing what they had on it, and he had this giant jug installed on his back passenger peg with a hose, and I'm like, I want that. So that helps when you're around a lot of long distance riders to see what do they have on their bikes. You know, what do I need on my bike? And,
they have a lot of good tips.
Yeah,
I bought a backpack, a special made for riders. You can make on your tank. It's a tank backpack. It's with isolation, so you can it hold the temperature for maybe 8 hours, and it's different sizes for sure. So you have the hose right away. It's have that it pulls back all the time. So when you drink, it pulls back the. It's really cool. I can pick it. Wait a minute, I can show you.
It goes on your tank?
Yes, you put it on the tank bag.
David Ohl has some system where he's got that hose on a retractor thing. Come to the taco run, and then like everybody will show you all their tricks. I mean, Chris set one up. He's got his set up with the hydration tank too. But yeah, I like David Ohl's little retractor hose.
I've seen those talked about a lot there's a long distance rider group that I belong to, and you look, actually I love some of the ideas that, you know, people are like, oh hey, you know, I do X, and even if you're not doing a lot of distance, I think hydration is always an issue.
That's where I got this idea. This will attach like where I can look at it instead down. A lot of people have their directions down. The last thing you want to be doing is looking down at directions. So a guy at the taco run had one of these, and I just put this, you know, to where it's an
extra large RAM mount. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the extra large RAM mount, and iPad, you know, an iPad could go in it. That's what it's for originally.
Oh, actually, that's a great idea.
So it calls Thirsty Rock. It's a hydration tank bag, and you have like a camel inside.
Yeah.
It's coupled with this one. And this goes, you see?
Yeah, and it just goes on your gas tank?
Yeah.
In front of you?
You put it on the gas tank.
Okay.
You can grab it.
Is there a map holder on the top of that cooler? Like, does the cooler have a pocket that you could put a map in? You know, like you would use with the tank bag, if you have a.
I'm using it. They have own holder. You can
show me the top of that. Show me the top of the flap. Close it and let me see. Okay.
I can't even see what she's showing us.
Yeah.
And I'm put it in my tank bag.
Yeah.
And then it's in front of you, so whenever you want to drink, here's the holder. You can open it, and then you pull it up, and it goes back.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really good. Cool. I can put the name in the chat if you like.
Yeah.
If you want to reach out. And this is a smaller size. It's not the biggest size. They have bigger sizes.
I've seen the ones that they mount on the pegs, and those things are big. It's like, wow, okay.
It's just like it's a half-gallon jug. It's not a big, you know.
It just looks big, you know.
So it's all insulated, so it makes it bigger.
Oh, well,
Yes, it's insulated, so you can make it in every other bag as well. You don't have to make it in this one. You can make it in the backpack too, but then it's not keeping cool, especially in Texas. You know? That's why I'm happy to have this insulation bag. So it calls, I write it in the chat.
Well, excellent. Does anybody else have any questions? Anything? Any comments? Anything, guys?
Yeah, where did all the guys go?
So when y'all got quiet and
I'm just thinking, I used to do a lot of cross-country riding, but in another month, I'm going to be 77, and those long distance trips have pretty much gone by the wayside. Very interesting, but not something I'm interested in doing.
But it's fascinating to watch.
It is, and it's fascinating to hear you
Always.
talk about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's
Always.
fascinating to see how many 70+ men are out there doing this hay though. I mean, I was amazed.
Well, I can think of 3 of them that are in their 70s, but
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
had
this
a
is like
good
the-
friend of mine that rode to Alaska when he was 83.
wow.
But I'm
We-
past those days.
We have one member, he is 81, and he won last year. He won a BMW R1000R, like a really racing bike. And he still rides, and Rob is riding with him. He still rides 100 miles a week if the weather is okay. So I think it's very impressive. You know, you have you guys like that. And the passion for the motorcycle, that's what I think it's really awesome, you know? So, yeah.
well, I am super happy that so many people came to
Yes.
hang out today.
Absolutely.
Julie and I had an early morning discussion about
Oh,
this.
I know.
Don't worry
Look,
about
and
it.
she sent me an ominous email. Are you ready?
Are you,
Oh
are
no,
you
there's
ready?
readiness. There's readiness. Oh,
And
and then I
but-
threw a bunch of pictures into PowerPoint because, you know, I didn't actually talk with her, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put my head down. Like with everything, with the Hoka, I'm like, okay, I just got to do this, right? So I just put all these things in PowerPoint. I'll tell the story. It'll be fine.
Exactly, and that's that is, and we'll invite y'all back after Hoka Hey, so we can hear
Yeah.
about how
I would love to
we
do that.
it.
Girls, can we do that?
Oh,
CJ,
you guys
yeah.
are,
Maybe-
you guys
maybe
are
we can-
welcome to
Maybe
come
we
back.
can entice a few
anytime.
other people to come join us that day too. I
Yes.
think I
Yeah.
think there's some people, and as I said, I would love to get Chris to come somewhere when he's not
Yeah.
riding 1,500 miles a day to come and chat with us. And once again, I thank you all so much. And I look forward to seeing many of you hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's been a crazy. We're in March, and I know a couple of us are already working rodeo. Kim,
Mhm.
Like that.
it's already crazy. Our March is already, it's like, where did March go? It came and went. But I think once again, I thank y'all so much for coming today. I'm just it's made my day. It really did. So
Oh, and you are welcome to join us whenever you want to step in or whatever, because this kind of talks we really like, to talk over things, what we're doing, helping each other, reasons things out. I think this is the main thing, what we like in this club to share. And of course, maybe especially, with you, Julie, you are not that far. I don't know, Kimberly, where you are located, but maybe we can make a ride together. That would be fun.
that would, we got to work on some of this. There was a woman that was here earlier that was messaging me, Violet. I mean, we have there's a lot of interest, and it would be great at some point for us to all get together and hang out for a little bit. That would be fun.
Exactly.
Are you in Houston, Deb?
I am in Houston. I
Okay.
actually live just outside George Bush Airport. So literally, and now it seems like going to be here permanently. So hey, there's a real upside in there. But it's been a crazy journey. But this is the stuff that makes me so happy and so proud, and I'm just so glad to see so much going on. And I'm trying to bring in some people. I'm hoping my speaker next week shows up. She has not answered my emails, but we won't talk
Oh
about
my
that.
gosh.
But we're really trying to do some fun things and get some people to come and just hear, if you have questions about Rotary, reach out to me separately. I'll talk to you about what we do, and I can put you in touch with a couple people, and talk about what we do as a charitable group, what we specifically do here in Texas, because I work with UDA, and we did this polio ride last year, which was a blast. We had a lot of fun, and I would love to get some people out there to ride with us. So
Because
Yeah.
we are the Texas fraction here in this
Yeah.
room, you know, we are the Texas girls.
exactly.
Mhm.
But, all right, Una, we are at the end of our session. So,
So I would love to ask David, maybe you can lead us in the 4-way test at the things we think, say, or do.
uh-oh, you gotta unmute.
Which
Unmute,
David?
Either David.
You,
Okay.
you,
All right.
you.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Oh, you guys do numbers? Okay. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And
up
number
in
5?
our neck of the woods, we add one is, will it be fun?
Will it be
Thank
fun?
you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for the meeting and maybe see you next week.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody, for
Thanks
joining.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See y'all soon.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely. I can't wait till Houston. I got to meet some of you guys. This is going to be fabulous.